Hello, my name is Stacys and I'm an art student. I'm making this video because my recent project has shown me the truth about the incel community and I need to share it with you today. I've never made a YouTube video before, really, so excuse any bad quality. I've also got a script that I'm going to be reading from, but it's very important. So yeah, this is my story. In the weeks of April and early May of 2025, my time was being spent in a way I never thought I would spend it. Like many of us, although we may not even know it yet, I had become a lurker. In internet culture, a lurker is somebody who observes online communities but does not participate in them through posting or commenting. They often don't have an account, and if they do, it remains dormant on the websites of their choice as they simply just watch. Lurkers are hard to track, but it's estimated that at any point in time, 50 to 90% of a community may be lurkers. In my case, I was lurking in order to learn the conventions of the incel and alt-right communities on websites such as 4chan, incel.is, YouTube and Reddit. Many lurkers find themselves in my position out of curiosity, drawn in by a piece of content that sits teetering on the precipice of extreme and acceptable. A lurker is initially shocked and bewildered before they find themselves seduced. All of a sudden, content that would have unsettled and disturbed them before becomes acceptable, even encouraged. Habits form of simply scrolling past extremely offensive and threatening language without batting an eye. Participation through the liking, commenting or posting of misogynistic, racist, homophobic, transphobic memes is second nature. Before they know it, a lurker is no longer a lurker, and the online discussions and acts move offline. Around a dinner table, in the playground with their friends, in the pub, the gym, on a podcast, a newsroom, and finally into our politics, our laws, and our rights. I hadn't been lurking for long when I found myself slipping and sliding down the incel pipeline. Incels are a subculture community of men who forge a sense of identity around their perceived inability to form sexual and romantic relationships. In the last 10 years, over 100 people, mostly women, have been killed or injured in the name of the incel community, and this figure continues to rise. The most recent in the UK being the Otley Road incident in Leeds on the 26th of April of this year. However, this is not where the person who coined the word incel thought the support group would be today. In the mid-1990s, a woman known only as Alana started a website called Alana's Involuntary Celibacy Project. At the time, she was in her mid-20s and struggling to find love. However, she knew she couldn't be the only one, so she shared her story online. Over time, the website and mailing list grew into a support group for both men and women in the same situation as Alana to share their fears and frustrations. Unfortunately, over 20 years later, the Incel Project, a portmanteau of involuntarily celibate, has morphed into a dingy, wet corner of the internet where hatred is growing like mould. After reading about Elliot Rodger, the incel who killed 6 people and wounded 14 others in 2014, Alana thought, "Holy shit, what have I started?" She tells The Guardian, "It feels like being the scientist who figured out nuclear fission and then discovers it's being used as a weapon of war." Nowadays, incels are typically heterosexual, childless men in their mid-20s with high levels of victimhood, anger and misogyny. Their attitudes and beliefs are very often coupled with homophobia and racism, even towards themselves, as 42% of the community self-identify as a person of colour. Incel websites have the perfect environment for people to be groomed down the alt-right pipeline. And even me, a queer, feminist woman, wasn't as immune as I thought I would be. Before visiting the sites, I hadn't fully comprehended what they would be like. I had a vague idea of the beliefs of incels and had read a few example posts online, but things are miles darker on there than the average person could imagine. Immediately, I was hit with pages of threads to choose from. They ranged in extremity from users talking about what they liked on toast or how their day went, to men expressing their desire for the legislation of rape, and men documenting their own successful sexual assaults with tips on how to get away with it. I had stepped into a whole new world. Why were these men so angry? maybe I should be angry too. At first, I didn't realise just how sophisticated this community was, and it took me a few days of lurking to finally get a grasp of the jargon. And even when I thought I had it, new words would pop up and I'd have to make another Google search. Reddit always had the answers as usual, and I got very used to typing, "What does blank mean?" Reddit. However, once I understood most of the important slang and was able to look past, almost embrace the cringe, the inside of the community felt sort of nice and comforting. It felt like I was part of a community with a secret language that belonged to us and that we belonged to. The slang allows us to express our dissatisfaction with society without having to directly confront the enemy. It empowers us, all from our phones and our laptops. It is clear a stay-at-home revolution is on its way. I've put together a glossary to help you get to terms with the terms. It seems there's a sort of language barrier between incels and normies, and that could easily scare someone like me in the lurker position that I was in away. It could prevent them from discovering the truth, from being a part of this transformation that is happening within society at this very second. Before lurking, I was completely oblivious to what is really going on right now. Things like the Me Too movement, which isn't about what it says it's about, but rather just a ploy and a campaign to lock up and ruin the lives of poor, autistic, socially isolated men who can't read social cues. Things like hypergamy among women, where they attempt to marry up in socioeconomic status, which is basically just whoring themselves out for resources. And the promotion of male disposability, where female privilege nowadays is allowing women to reduce men to a piggy bank or a toolbox. These are all things that my time lurking has shown me that we need to be looking out for before it's too late and society is doomed. The glossary that I've put together in the video below will help you from falling into the leftist trap, or it will save you from it like it did for me. We need to be looking out for the red flags before it's too late. There is something to be said about the passion, dedication, and size of this community. I felt that surely these ideologies, philosophies, and well thought out theories couldn't just be pulled out of thin air, right? As I lurked, I noticed certain incel truths would crop up more frequently. Specifically these: that male privilege is a myth and we live in a gynocracy, that women only go for the most attractive cohort of men, the 80-20 theory, and that looks outweigh personality, that women actually desire to be dominated and abused by Chad, which is why they only go for nice guys when they're ready to settle down and exploit them, and of course that the only purpose of a woman is to give men sex and babies, preferably before they hit the wall at 25 years old. Now I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking the same thing. This is crazy. But I encourage you to just reflect. Sit down, turn the phone off, specifically avoid TikTok. That app is just littered with feminist propaganda, and think. When in your life have you ever actually experienced the patriarchy? How much of your love life is being manipulated by shallow foids who only care about looks and height? How much have you participated in this swipe right sexual dystopia that we live in today? I think back to my own Tinder days and they've got a point. It's kind of true. The only thing you find on there is sluts getting gangbanged at a party every weekend and are just looking for a free meal. I started to remember the requests of threesomes I got from Chad and Chadlites, the request to join some liberal thirsties polyamorous freak off because they don't understand real societal values. The importance of family, the sanctity of the home. I mean, think about it. What has feminism really done for you? If you look up feminism, it says equality between the sexes, and how could anyone disagree with that? That sounds great, right? Wrong. What it really is an anti-science, penis-shaming, reactive philosophy that once uses words that had real meaning and they just extend the definitions and it stops being about what they said it was about. Now it's not about equality between the sexes. It's almost about establishing a matriarchy where men can't speak. And the goal is not to be like the women who aspired to be like men. They didn't hate men. There wasn't a hatred towards men in the first wave of feminism. But now we've arrived at a place where really it's dark. It's about hating men. It's about trying to train women to believe that the patriarchy exists everywhere. Like, before you go to sleep, check under your bed, the patriarchy, it could be there. The closet, the patriarchy could be there. Everything's the patriarchy. Like, come on. If you don't believe me, check the glossary under this video. You'll find the true meaning of feminism there. And I promise you, it's not what these brainwashed feminazis and soy boy vegan cucks are trying to like manipulate you into thinking that that's what it is, because it's not that. The crazy thing is, I used to believe all of that. I used to blame men for all of my problems. Like, when I get catcalled on the street, I used to blame men, when really it was my fault. It was my fault for dressing like a streetwalker whore. Like, what did I expect? It was a dark time in my life, and I deeply regret it. I was a man-hating, feminazi foid. I'm currently trying to grow out my mullet because it makes me sick thinking that I've been actively reducing my sexual market value like that. I deeply regret it. I'm embarrassed. But the incel community lifted me out of that. Before I was blackpilled, I didn't think I wanted children. I thought my life would be fuller and more vibrant on my own. I didn't think I would be good at raising a whole human, and that maybe I would raise them wrong. I wanted the freedom to do what I wanted. Well, what the crazy feminists manipulated me into wanting. Now I know why I didn't want kids. And it was the birth control pill. It was taking away that surge of hormone that makes foids broody and horny all the time. Remember, women are the real sex pests, not poor lonely men who just want a good submissive wife. Anyway, I thought, I'm just a go-getter boss babe who doesn't want kids, and I'll never want kids, and that's just naturally how I am. Wrong. It was the pill. It was because I wasn't ovulating. If you are on the pill, you are suppressing the very real, natural, God-given instinct that you have to find a strong man who wants to have babies with you. The pill is suppressing a very core part of what it means to be a woman. After my time lurking, the switch has flipped, and I'm ready to settle down with my looks match and do my duty as a woman. Before I discovered the truth about this shitty world, feminism was my cope, but the incel community lifted me out of that, lifted me out of my brainwashed victim mentality. I can't believe I didn't realise how serious the male loneliness epidemic really is, and how this so-called patriarchy the feminists are making up in their deluded brains is actually just the result of foids not doing their duty. Society falls without strong men. What do you think the consequence is when you degrade men, when you denigrate men over time? You say you are not wanted, you have no value in society, men ain't shit, as women like to say. What do you think the consequence is? Who do you think leads households? Men do. Societies that fall because we don't have strong men. Society needs strong men. And without foids like me doing their due diligence for the very structure of society, for the very sanctity of the household, we all fall. Every man is entitled to a femoid. Why do you think they keep killing us? Why do you think in the UK a woman dies every 3 days at the hands of a man? Because we're not giving them enough sex. They're frustrated. What else can they do if it's not killing and raping their partners, mothers, daughters, friends? What else can they do? And it's our fault, foids. It's our fault. Think about it. Companies are literally pumping millions into the production of realistic sex dolls that are like us in every single way, apart from their ability to say no. Because we're not distributing our sex equally. We need to stop saying no. Why else is the global sex tech market expected to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 16.7% from 2023 to 2030? Good men who are just looking for love are being forced to turn to a silicone teenage pair of tits because we are not being nice enough to them. All this hashtag Me Too and regret rape in the news, it's tiring and depressing for men. Not for foids, not for us, for men. They would rather check out, leave the femoids behind and get the sex doll. I urge you, my fellow women, to be good and submissive to the men in your life before the fabric of society crumbles. Stop talking over them. Help the men in your life get relief from the crippling curse of high libidos before you're next. Do you really want Jess Phillips to be reading your name out in Parliament next year? I highly doubt it. I mean, why do you think that Sex Doll Genie, a love doll and robot distributor, reported a 51.6% rise in sex doll sales during the first 2 months of 2020, and the business continues to grow by 33.2% year on year? It's obvious. It's because Foids continue to humiliate men by rejecting them. I was part of this. I was obsessed with making myself uglier with piercings and manly clothes, and I hate myself for it. I was a narcissistic feminazi, hell-bent on removing any trace of masculinity from society. The incel community showed me the light. All men wanted to do was love women, and in turn be loved by them back. Our behaviour towards them has earned their hatred, and rightfully so. The ultimate evil behind sexuality is the human female. We are the main instigators of sex. We decide who gets it and who doesn't. Women are flawed creatures, and men's mistreatment at our hands has made incels realise this sad truth. Reading the post on that website has confirmed just how cruel and bleak this world is due to the evilness of women. Like I said, in the weeks of April and early May of 2025, my time was being spent in a way I never thought I would spend it. I was being saved from my crazy, hysterical PMS mind, and I thank Supreme Gentleman Elliot Rodger for it every day. I am proud to be a part of the Incel Rebellion. Thank you.